And in the midst of a huge crisis in Lebanon and during a state of war with Israel, there are actually serious negotiations going on between the countries on maritime borders. The U.S. is mediating. I-24 News' Mike Wagenheim is with us from New York. Mike, even the U.S. envoy sounds optimistic. Is that true?
More optimistic, Jacob, than I think the sides have been in a while. Amos Hochstein, the U.S. energy envoy, back in the region again, this time on the Lebanese side, to negotiate, to present his particular policy proposals here as to how to narrow the gap between the two sides, Israel and Lebanon, as to the exact maritime borders, what it would mean financially for each side. Obviously, Lebanon needs this more than Israel right now, but Michel Aoun, the embattled president there in Lebanon, has already come out publicly, not only to say he's ready to study those points of the proposal of Hochstein, but basically saying at this point, it's time to act, that the time for all the gamesmanship is over, and Lebanon needs the financial implications of this deal. They need the economic resources that would come with a fair deal in his eyes, and so it's time for Lebanon to get serious here. Now, of course, there are other interests at play. The Lebanese government, very unstable at this point. It relies on a fairly diverse coalition of political viewpoints, and some of those spectrums on the political viewpoints there don't want any deal with Israel. They see it as normalization. They see it as caving, as concessions, and they're unwilling to do so. So this is a needle that Aoun and company will have to thread here. There are more people involved, though. I got the Prime Minister, Najib Mikati, meeting with Hochstein, the Parliament President as well, the Lebanese Foreign Minister, the Energy Minister, everybody being brought into the fold right now to try to move this thing forward.
Yeah. Who's not happy about it? Hezbollah.
Well, Hezbollah not happy about it, although in some ways it would serve their purposes to get a financial influx here. It would improve their standing because of the deep crisis in Lebanon that many blame Hezbollah on. So, ergo, if the crisis stabilizes, if money's coming in, if everybody's happy or happier, therefore some of the blame would be taken off of them. But still, again, any kind of concessions to Israel is seen in some eyes as a weakness by Hezbollah. So that's really what the Lebanese are up against right now. And in terms of the actual ramifications of the negotiations, Jacob, the last time around, it had completely changed. The parameters that the Lebanese were offering were just delusional in terms of what they wanted, in terms of the square miles that they wanted given to them under Lebanese sovereignty in order to extract the oil, the natural gas that's there. Even the United Nations said this is wild. It was completely off previous negotiations. The Lebanese now, according to reports, and even according to what their president has said, have gone back to the previous parameters, which are much more realistic, and now negotiating from that standpoint. So at least at this point, there's something to work with. Whether it actually gets done, Israel-Lebanon, a U.S. mediator, questionable, but it's better now than it was in the previous round, that's for certain.
It's on Middle East clock. Mike Wagenheim, thank you very much.